Welcome back to the Teacher's AI Cafe. I'm Kane, a teacher and a parent who wants AI to give us back our time. I share practical classroom-tested AI strategies to cut down your workload, improve your feedback and reduce stress so you can get your evenings back and be more present with your friends and family. No jargon, just actionable steps. Grab your mug. Now let's get going. Welcome back to the Teacher's AI Cafe. Today I'm actually going to do a video at the same time that I'm actually working through this podcast. I'll put the link to the YouTube video in the show notes so you can go watch what I'm actually doing and describing. I'll describe it as best as I can going through for the people listening in their cars and driving. As I mentioned last week, ChatGPT or OpenAI have updated their Codex and they released a new feature called Sites. And I think Sites is actually really good. So I'm actually going to step away through it. When we're looking at the screen, I've got Codex opened here. If you look at Codex, you've got ChatGPT version here, and you've got a Codex version. Now, Sites does work in the normal chat version as well, but I'm going to use the Codex because it's just a bit simpler. So what we do is come down to the prompt box, and we simply / or @ where you type in Sites, do spacebar. And this will actually tell it to actually build a website. Now, before we get into this, I did some research, and I found that there is a limit to how many sites you can make, but OpenAI hasn't actually publicly released what that actually is. Whether you can make 1,000 sites, 10,000 sites, or 100 sites, it is unknown at the moment. Maybe it also depends on the size of the site and then the amount of details that you actually put in there. The beauty of sites, and I've used it in a few of my classes, is simply the fact that I can develop a custom site with the custom information of what I specifically want from my students. And one of the big challenges for us out there simply is finding sites we can send our students to. Because some sites do things very well, others don't do it very well at all. So as a result, we can actually control what actually goes into it, customize our site, and then just share it with our students. The URL itself, as I'll demonstrate, is custom according to your username. I had to change mine. I had an old nickname I did when I very first signed up with ChatGPT, which is my gaming name. Then I had to change it. I've changed it to my business name now, going through that. Like I said, when we go through, the idea is we can build the sites we want. And we're going to do a couple of different ones today. It's not going to be a long episode because essentially you can do a lot of this very, very quickly yourself. But I'll go through some of the process I've learned in the last week or so of doing it. And I can tell you these have been tested within my class, and they're actually very good. And I'll probably jump back and show you what I made in terms of the resources I actually did make, and that way you can see what I've done. But let's start from a brand new one. And I'll pick one which I'm doing at the moment. Say we want to do the Battle of Hastings. Battle of Hastings for my Year 8 history class. They low literacy, the world knows that by now. They low literacy, create content from the death of Edward the Confessor to William being crowned king. And actually, I'll just hit enter. And that's what I'm going to put in that. I'm going to do an update episode on how prompting is changing, but essentially you don't have to put as much detail into promptings as you did previously. And that's important, especially with the newer models. They're getting smarter. They can read a lot of your history. They can read a lot of, obviously, context around what you've already talked about. So if you're doing a lot of similar work, and say in projects or within the one chat, you don't need to reiterate yourself all the time. So it makes a big difference. But what it's going to do now, it's actually going to go through and create all the details. I haven't given me any specific details on there. While that's actually doing it in the background, I wonder if I can jump out to my other one. I'm not sure I can. I haven't used Codex enough. I'll talk about another project that I did. So the other demo I'm going to give after this is I have a paper escape room. And I was going to be absent from a class and they had access to IT rooms. I love doing escape rooms. And the idea of the escape rooms, it was basically the rise of Hitler from 1919 through to 1933. And they had 6 different activities based on that. They had to then solve problems, match up primary sources, create meanings. And when they did that, they actually got a code. The code they would then enter in and solve the puzzle. When they had all the codes, they'd get a master code, and then they can escape from the escape room. Pretty straightforward. And I actually thought, well, I wonder if Sites can actually build this for me. And I found out it can actually do that very, very well. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pop out of here. So I'm going to and show you the site it actually built and why this is building in the background. And then I can come back and show you. So one moment. What I've loaded up here is the escape room I made. So we obviously don't want to sit there and watch me or watch Codex build this site from scratch. So this is the site I made, and I'll go through the process that I did in a minute and we'll get it to recreate it. But like I said, I had this paper version, and essentially I dropped the paper version, the existing resource that I had, and asked it to actually create an online version of sites based on that. So this is the basic site here. It's got up the top right, it's got a reset button. So once they've done it, they can actually reset it. It gives the mission through here: solve 6 evidence challenges, build a complete explanation of how Hitler rose from the Treaty of Versailles to Chancellor, and then dismantle democracy. We've got begin investigation. Down the bottom, we've got note, and we've got it's designed for Year 10 mixed literacy support. You can take those details out. So I click on begin investigation on the button here, and I've got my 6 different challenges, and I'm not going to do them all. But what I found going through, it actually designed these on the right-hand side. I've got my codes and complete fix. So the first evidence of file 1 is Treaty of Versailles. Why did the treaty create opportunities for extremist groups? And there's 4 items: war, guilt, reparations, territorial and military restrictions. Essentially, we click on that. They go through and select the same option. It gives them 9 options, so they can get it wrong. Just say if we do get this wrong, I'll just randomly pick some things. We've got a code box at the bottom. The idea is they read the first one, they'd go 1, 6, 3, 9, 16, 93. I'll go check code. It comes back with not quite, at least 1 misplaced or incorrectly matched. There's actually quite a lot here, wrong here. Funny enough, I do know the answer. Hopefully it hasn't changed on me. So war, guilt, no, that wasn't the one. That was, war, guilt was... blame for symbol, blame for clause, reparations, payments aid to pressure, territorial losses, lost land, and so on. Military restrictions, the army expanded. Unlimited conscriptions, limits on troops or weapons. So that gives us code 1919. That should be right. We hit check. Gives us the correct code and appears on the other side. So this is a good escape room that 1, you can give it to you in your class, and 2, we can set it for homework as a task, a challenge. And they can do it in any order. The idea is we've got these different codes, and they have to then put, say here, we've got crisis here. They have to work them out sequentially going through. This one, when I first did it, it just actually gave me the title of the sources. So for people at home, this page is Selling the Nazi Message, and it's primary source section, where the idea is it's actually identified, well, you had 4 different posters. When I first created this, it just had the titles, and I actually had to tell it to reiterate again, go through the process and actually locate the primary source posters and actually put them in there. And it did that for me quite comfortably. So once again, we've got the poster here, Our Last Hope for people teaching history, and the people select it and they use the codes for each of these to actually to build up all the codes across the 6 challenges. And then they get one where they got to try and do the master code at the end. It's quite good. And if there's also a hint over here, hint 1, hint 2. So if they need a bit of support, then we're going to hit reset, and it takes us back to the beginning. Let's see how the new website is going that we're actually designing. Okay, it's still working on this website. What's it telling me here? So it's telling me I'm using sites building hosting skills to make this simple. Year 8, it's basically reiterating back. It's going to have a clear timeline, key people, short explanation, and a quick knowledge check. The lesson structure is set, building it around short sentences, repeated data labels, color-coded people, what happened next, how flow students can follow the story without dense reading. A full lesson is ready and the knowledge check works. I'm publishing it probably now so you can open it up and use it with the class. So that essentially, we've got a screen changing here and looks like it's opening up. So it says my Year 8 site is ready. It's giving me a summary for people at home. It says open, and we'll open up the web page and I'll explain the process we go through that. It is straightforward, but there's a couple of options there. It includes simple low literacy, 3 claimants to the throne, 8-step timeline, reasons William won at Hastings, Edward's death through to the coronation. So if I open up the website, so it's opening up the website here. Now, the first time we actually do it, if you don't do any change permission, it's going to ask you to log in with your ChatGPT. So it's actually private. You can only log in with your ChatGPT account, but you can actually change the permissions on these to actually make it more available, so it's actually open to everyone. So at the moment, the permission of the site, it's my email and details. So it's a blue sort of scheme. For people at home, I've got an initial page. I've got a couple of shortcut menus, people timeline at the top. It's got a blue scheme. I'm not really fussed on that. I didn't give much details. So it's got who will rule England, start the story. Edward dies with no clear heir. It's got a keyword, which is heir in there. Yeah, so it's highlighted in bold, that keyword, so students can actually understand it for low literacy. 3 claimants. It's got a summary of Harold, William, and Harold Hardrada, Harold Godwinson. And claimants, once again, a vocab word there. It gives you a nice little timeline going through there. Butler, Hastings. It's very basic. And then we've got a quiz at the end, who's the new king. So if I do it really badly here and check my answers, I get 2 out of 5. Essentially, that's what's come through. Now, if I'm happy with that as first, no, I'm not. That's pretty poor. Not what I'm looking for. Okay, I want you to update the style of the website. Use the Bayeux Tapestry as the style guide. So people teach history. This is an amazing tapestry. It's in London at the moment because they're renovating the church or the place in Normandy. Definitely go see it. It's absolutely fantastic. So I'm going to get it to use that particular style. I quite like this. I can then feed it in and we'll get to redo the website. So I'm going to pick that particular style and we'll go through and now go back through the process and actually looking at that again. And this is what you can do once you get a website. You can then work through and start refining and changing it basically live. Going through. Okay, so tell me it's going to restyle the tapestry visual style, warm linen, stitch borders, flat medieval figures, and so on, continuous story panels, using Siteworks site workflow again, plus the image generation for the site's matching social preview. What you could also then do is actually ask it to go find primary sources, or you can drop them yourself actually into the chat and ask them to use these sources in your page that we're actually going through. And the advantage of this is it does it on the fly. So there's no real work for you. I don't know people who ever sat down and decided to design a web page for your class, whether it's Winx or Weebly or those. They're actually time consuming to do that. And they take a lot of time and to modify them, update them, and keep them relevant, and then insert videos, and then it doesn't look quite right. Whereas I found the videos I do this just work seamlessly in any different browser as well. The other advantage it does, that I'll show the example that my class did on Monday, is simply it can actually hook in external resources and link to them and primary sources. So I think what I might do is go out, we'll have a look at the other website I actually built that we used in class on Monday. So this was Democracy Under Pressure. So I did spend quite a bit more time working on this one. So this is essentially Nazi Germany from 1919 to 1925. It's, once again, small investigation. So the first one is collect your task sheet, use it all lesson. So I actually created a Word document, printed out hand from them to actually record their information on there when they were working through it. My first version was, it actually generated a task sheet for me and actually embedded it so the students could actually log on to the website. Click on download, it'll download the task sheet, they can then work through it. But the task sheet built didn't actually really match up to what I wanted to do it. I took that off because it would be confusing to the students if I gave them the task sheet and then they log on, there's a different task sheet that wasn't quite the style I wanted, actually attached to the website. It gives a bit of a time frame there. So it's a 30 to 35 minute task going through. Starts off, because I said it's a mixed literacy class, we put in basically 7 terms there. They need to copy that into their vocabulary list inside the actual task sheet itself. It then gave us some basic definitions, some quizzes, and the way I mashed up the task sheet is they actually wrote down their answers and which one they got wrong or right. Then moved in the first section, the briefing. It talks about a new fragile democracy, 4 judgments. One then gives a timeline. There was the Spartacus uprising, the cap push, rural occupation, hyperinflation, and the Munich push. There's a timeline across the top. And the first one, the way I designed low literacy, really nice structure. Simply, it's a box of 4. The Spartacus uprising, which are the communists, why they acted, what they did, the outcome, and why it mattered. We've got the political left, the government weapon of the Freikorps, over 100 people killed, and we've got a primary source image there on that. I did have extended answers in there. I took them out. So the idea is you could send this and get a text box in there, and they could actually put their answers in there for you. But like I said, I wanted them to do the paper-based. There's a little quiz in there as well. And then we've got Turbulent 1990. What I did like about it is it had this archival footage. So if I click on that, it actually opens up a second web page, which is German history in documents and images. It takes us to a movie footage from 1919 that was shot at the time. It's a lot of it's text and I'll just skip through it. So the students can actually watch contemporary or video footage of what's actually happening in the source there and give an idea for the primary source. And I thought that was really cool. I didn't actually ask it to go find that. It actually did that automatically for me, which is quite nice. Then we go through the cap push, same structure again, so I don't need to go through it. Once again, outcome here. Another primary source footage there of the cap push. Berlin in 1920. And we have a short little video. And these are just on these websites, so they're not on anywhere like YouTube or anything like that. So I couldn't embed them or link them that way. It looks a bit dark there, doesn't it? But yeah. We've got this cap push videos of all the soldiers around central Berlin. So the idea, hopefully, that increases engagement within the class. Then I've got an occupation of the rural. Now, I didn't have an image originally. I asked it to actually go find an image for me, and this is what it came back with. So the idea is they had to locate it, where it was, explain its value, explain the occupation. There's a map here that gives them one section of the booklet. It's on page 2 of the booklet. And then we came in through an exploration of hyperinflation. Again, wages, salary, pensions, winners, what the terms actually mean through there. And then we've got the chain of events going through. They can choose which one's correct and they get instant feedback. And finally, we've got the Munich push, which is obviously Hitler trying to overthrow in 1923, which was unsuccessful. And a little quiz at the end, and a bit of a debate and a bit of a summary. Justice was unequal, so they then had a bit of a discussion there, some prompts to give them some thoughts. And now we've got to close this website and complete the sort of the post-task activity. So at the bottom says use the printed task set by your teacher. Now that was, like I said, now creating this, honestly, the first draft would take about 15 minutes, if that. And then it took me another 15, 20 minutes to go through and refine it to the degree that I want. This was for a relief lesson, so it was very convenient. I didn't have to worry about them going to some websites or things. I could look it into our content management systems. The students come in, clicked on it, and actually did the task. So, yeah, let's jump to the website. It's actually finished. So is it still going? No, it is still going. Or that. So we've got like a screen grab here for people at home. It says 1066, who will rule England, a Year 8 history story. You can tell it take things like Year 8 history story out. That's obviously our context. It's like a page. It's done that's in the style of the Bayeux Tapestry. You can see like the thread, the material like it's been. That's a tapestry. It's more of a knitting style thing, but we can see this style already through there. And it actually looks really cool. If you're online, go check the YouTube video out. Okay, that's still going along there. So I'm going to stop here and we'll come back when it's finished. So that was about a minute after I said, I'm not going to sit here and work you through it. So I want to say it was fairly quick. Maybe you'll think about the length of this episode. We're pretty much made 2 completely different websites at the same point. So it's updated with sort of woven linen texture going through, some colours, medieval style portraits, matching tapestry, social. Once again, low literacy. We'll open up the web page again. No, it looks exactly the same. That's interesting. Let's go back and tell it looks exactly the same. Don't you love doing things live? maybe we close these ones down. There we go. So basically what happened there is I had the existing Windows open and it's just reload that window when I hit it. So what have we got here? The style is, a couple looks much better than what we actually got through here. It is better. I don't know about some parts of it's better. So basically, if you look at it online, it's gone that sort of browny thing. It doesn't look like woven. It doesn't look like the texture. It's got this border with some items in there. So maybe it wasn't able to do that. But like I said, things aren't possible. Hasn't actually changed the website. What I'm going to tell it to do is I'm going to drop them in. So I'm going to take a screen grab of it. It does not look like this Tapestry at all. Nothing like the title. Image shade here. Fix it up to ensure it follows that style 100% and put the image there at the top as if it looks great. So I'm basically telling it to go, hold it. I've put a screen grab in there from the website. I've looked at it and gone, it doesn't look like anything it asked it to do, because it did say it was woven linen textures, stitched borders, muted ox blood, indigo and mixed colours, continuous embroidered story timeline. No, it didn't do the medieval style portraits, story panels, no, matching tapestry. It lied to us. And this is the beauty of AI, isn't it? Oh, look. And what's it come back and told me? You're right. The current page uses tapestry colours, but its oversized modern typography and card layout still looks like a contemporary website. I'm correcting that. Generate tapestry artwork will become full width, opening panel, the rest of the page. So like I said, AI doesn't get it right. And obviously we're asking it to do a lot in a very basic prompt here. So we'll let it go through. At the moment it's been working for a minute. And we think about when we look at the other web pages. So we think about when we look at the other web pages that we had, the style is very much web page like. And for modern history, Nazi Germany, I don't really care. I think it absolutely looks fine, even for the escape room. It's nice, clean design, easy to read. That's actually basically what I want out of it. Whereas I think engaging for younger students like the tapestry, the medieval period is such a rich, interesting period, visually as well, in terms of the way they did their art and the colours. The fact that incorporating that into a website would actually be very much better and more engaging for our students, and also helps them understand that link between that visual style, because the majority of people were obviously illiterate at the time, and visuals were very important in actually putting it in there. So let's go check back on Codex. So it's been running for 2 minutes. Viewed an image. Now, other uses I can see this, like I said, are relief lessons, very specialist type classes or lessons that you want to do when you can't find the content out there. You can also then use it as a revision tool. So you can put revision questions on there for the students to work through. And the way I would do that is actually drop the resources in there on the questions and ask it to build a website only around those resources. And you can even provide questions to it for that. You could create a task sheet or some other task to do that, but putting in a website is different level of engagement and accessibility for different students as well. The advantage as well is that you can very quickly and easily combine images and your text and things. And I do know when you're building obviously paper-based resources, that can be quite time consuming. Even using AI to bring the different elements in there for you with that. So being portable, and it's also, once you've got it, it's actually reusable. Now I'll talk about uploading as well. So when you actually upload it, as I said, it's made, basically it's your account, or you can make it anyone with the link. It's very basic, similar to what you say get with Google. So when you do anyone with the link, whoever can hit that URL will basically have access to that link. So if we go look at the link here, we'll look at that was my earlier one, I'll do the later one. So I've got the URL, which is Weimar Under Pressure, So that's the beginning of the URL. And that's basically the name of the worksheet or the task you're creating. The next one is your business. In case my name, it might be your name. So if you're Joe Blogs and your ChatGPT is listed under Joe Blogs, it would say Weimar under pressure.joeblogs.chatgpt.site. So it actually puts that identification in there for you. And obviously you can adjust and change the name on there as well. So these are temporary sites here as well. I haven't actually done it, but I did have a chat with ChatGPT and things. You can actually load it up to a specific site. So I've got my Yugen Learning website, which if I wanted to, I'm going to start playing with this, is I can upload these web pages so they permanently reside on my web hosting page instead of wherever it sits at the moment, because I don't know where it exists in terms of the open AI architecture. And then I can permanently store there and doing that. And that requires me to do some back-end adjustments and things, my scene name and that for the website. But the idea is I can host these web pages up there as well. And what you should be able to do, which I haven't tried, corrected version 8, downloaded standalone version. So what I haven't actually tried this. Don't we love doing things? I cannot spell. Alone. There we go. My brain wasn't working there. It's after work on a weekday. So create a download. Oh, lots of spelling mistake. It'll fix it. Create a latest downloaded version of the web page. So I'll get it to do that and see if we can actually create something you can then just use internally on your website. So anyway, let's click on the open website, but to make sure the other one's closed. Otherwise, we'll have the issue we had before. It is closed. Let's click, then open up. So it's now opening up new web page. If we look at the URL on this one, it's still not that good. It's called Hastings-1066-year8.Yugen ChatGPT website. Now, so the top page is good. It's a little bit of an improvement, but like I said, I'll share the link out there. The top page, the image looks very good, but I think because it's a still image and it was easy to do, it's just inserted that in there. Everything else is better, but pretty much the same in there. So what we're going to do is ask it to make one more change. I package up. I'm asking it to download internet connection. So basically it's a standalone HTML file, styling, timeline quiz, opens directly in a browser without needing a hosted site or internet connection. So that's very good in creating this self-contained sort of web page. And that's good because you can get it to open up without an internet connection on your students' devices actually in the classroom. It takes away a lot of those security issues, maybe it depends how your school locks down your devices and your computers. So that certainly can get around that at the moment. And what I wanted to do is update the website and use primary source images on the historical event from, okay, we've got a standalone file. I'll download that. Oh, there it is there. It opens in the side window in Codex as a preview. But like I said, I can look at that and I can should be able to download it. Yeah. And I can download that. So I won't do that at the moment. But update the website, use primary source images, historical event from the Bayeux Tapestry and other sources close to 1066. So add in some text boxes of interesting, I would call it from the interesting entries at the event from the Anglo-Saxon, I forgot what it's called now, Anglo-Saxon, it's not journal, let's say records, chronicle, that's the word I want. I haven't taught it such a long time. Anglo-Saxon Chronicle. It's really good read actually. It's very funny what they write about the Vikings. They really didn't like the Vikings. That's really cool when you talk about bias, because obviously the Vikings are coming mainly raiding lots of monasteries and things, taking the monks and all the gold. So, and the Anglo-Saxons were written by the monks and the church. So yeah, they didn't have very nice things to say about them. call them devils amongst other things from across the sea. So the idea is, once again, we're going to rely on how smart it is to actually go find these primary sources and actually bring them and incorporate them into the actual sources. So what's it saying here? Extending the site from a primary source layer, genuine Tapestry scenes were placed besides the events they depict. Manuscript evidence, close to 1066, short accessible Anglo-Saxon Chronicle extracts. They're all very short anyway. If you ever look it up, you can look it online, I think. I think the whole thing's on the Gutenberg project, you can see online. Source label, so students can distinguish between evidence from explanation, update both the live site and then download offline sections. We're back. So this and all up took 4 minutes and 45 seconds to make these changes. While you're doing that, I did open up the download version. So if we, which I didn't mention earlier, so if we go into download updated offline version, if you right click on it, you can reveal show in Finder. So when you work in Codex, it actually creates a working folder. So it's actually saved inside that, which is quite good. We've got open live lesson. It's added 4 authentic Bayeux Tapestry scenes. Hopefully I'm saying that right. My daughter learning French, corrects me all the time. Edward's funeral, Harold's coronation, William's crossing, Harold's death. Photograph of the Anglo-Saxon manuscript page. 5 short chronicle entries, box of simple explanations. Comparison with questions, English, Norman viewpoints. Some source labels, and it tells me where it actually got the images from. Wiki Commons, the British Library, Manuscript Record, and Public Domain 1066 translation. So let's have a look. Try that again. Okay, once again, I had to shut the windows down to actually do that. Now we've got the entry. We've got air, so it's a bit stitching idea. Where these pictures, okay, yes, it's made some images from the tapestry, or don't like it, outputs Harold receives. So I would have to tell the go put the text below the sources there. William writes, which I'm not going to do that, and Harold. So these are easy fixes. So people sitting at home, I've got images of the tapestry. They've put them out there, but they've actually got the text actually over the picture itself. I'd go back and tell it to do a revision and put those underneath. Harold dies. I've got the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle says. I've got a picture here. It's in Old English. It's written in Old English. I cannot read Old English. Sounds very not like Middle English. So it's got a couple of extracts. Men also chose him there too. William subdued this land. Boldly overcome his army. We've got a quote underneath. Future points here. What have we got? The Battle of Hastings. We've got the details there. I'd like to bring the bits of the map in there. Win the battle did not make him king straight away, and there's a quiz. So that's a bit of improvement. Now, if we think about the whole time that we're actually been doing this, we've got 5 minutes there. Let's go back to the beginning. 7 minutes to build the original website. Then we did some adjustments on there. 8 minutes there to do the first lot of adjustments. Then 3 and a bit minutes. Let's create a corrected version. Another minute and a half to create, or 2 minutes basically, to create a download standalone version. Another 4.5 minutes there. So virtually no time, and you've got this good working resource. And you can keep going through and now start adding content and information to it. Like I said, it's a very good tool. It's a very nice feature. I don't know if Claude does it quite the same way. I haven't seen it, so I'll have to go investigate that for maybe next week's episode. But like I said, I think this is a really good feature. How you access it again, once again, you do / type in sites. Then you can click on the menu pops up. It pops up sites hosting, or you can do an @ symbol, like in your email. Type in sites and it does exactly the same thing. You type in, you give it a name. Now I could go rename all these websites. I could take year 8 out of it. I could say I want the path to be called this, the website. I could be called 1066 Who Will Rule England, and make that as the title, and then obviously my prefixes and as part of that, or the rest of my web address actually after that, not quite a prefix for that. So yeah, have a look. Definitely have a play with it. If you're interested in knowing more, getting information, I'll put a guide together and put it through my mailing list. Once again, I'm still organising my new mailing service, but I'll get those out by this Sunday, I promise. I'll send them out a bulk email or different ones. For each episode, I'll send an individual email, so that way it's much neater for you to actually find the resources that you want to do. You can subscribe to my messages as well as my YouTube channel, based around that, which is Kane, the AI teacher. And yes, join the Facebook group, post some questions in there. and join the mailing list and start to build a bit of a community around this. So I'd like really to hear your ideas and how you're using it. And I'd love to, if you're interested, come on, pop me a message and we'll do an online chat and show me tips and tricks, because people are using things AI I've never even thought of. And I found that when I've been doing the interviews that I had, people tell me these things. I think, that's amazing. How'd you come up with that idea? So we want to hear your ideas for the benefit of everyone. Till then, take care, look after yourself.